Karen, this time of year, there's so much love in the air.
There is.
Isn't there?
There is.
Of course, I'm referring to Valentine's Day, since the show's coming out right around this time period.
Hope you've been shopping.
For what?
It's Valentine's Day coming up.
Oh, well, so...
Happy wife, happy life.
Well, I thought that we'd switch it up a little bit and chat about something that we all love to talk about.
Which is?
Love, romance, and of course, sex.
Ooh.
Now, if you're easily embarrassed by true, unbridled, genuine, passionate talk about sex, then this episode might not be the one for you, because today we're diving into sex magic. Is it real? What's it used for? Most of all, how do we use it to get the things and people that we want in our life? So if you're coupled, go ahead and grab your partner and listen to this episode together. And if you're still searching for that special someone, then listen very closely, because this one's going to change everything.
My name is Will.
And I'm Karen.
And unlike Mulder and Scully,
we both want to believe.
So we've embarked on a journey of discovery.
We've talked to people deeply entrenched in the spiritual and metaphysical world.
We've thrown ourselves into weird and wonderful experiences. I even joined a coven of witches.
And wait, you joined a coven?
Yep, all in the interest of finding something.
Anything.
That will prove that there's something beyond this physical,
three-dimensional world we all live in.
This is the Skeptic Metaphysicians.
Hey, welcome back to the Skeptic Metaphysicians. I'm Will.
And I'm Karen.
And this show is for all the lovers out there. I always wanted to say that, Karen. I don't even want to waste any time. I want to dive right into the topic right now. So let's just welcome Jessie Mclean to the show. Jessie, thanks for coming on.
Pleasure. Thank you so much for hosting me. I'm so excited to be here.
The feeling is definitely mutual. Now, you are a women's empowerment coach. You're a Reiki master, a manifestation master, a yoga meditation teacher. Fair to say that you help people upgrade their mindset and step into being the creator of their reality. Right? Now, to do this, you've got lots of tools that you use, but today you're here to talk to us about sex magic. So let's just get right to the meat of it. What exactly is sex magic?
Sex magic. Oh, how do you sum this down into our 30-minute show? This will feel like you can stay to the end to get every single piece of what this is and what it is not.
Yeah, there's a lot to this. So
yes, there's a lot to it, and it's so simple at the same time. Peeling back the layers of an individual person and bringing out their own true nature and embodying that with their highest self, their highest pleasure, to become the magnet for what they want, what you desire, to open that door and to allow it in the most sacred and intimate way. If that's like a little bit of a summing up of what sex magic is for me.
Okay. Now, when I think of sex magic, I tie it in a lot of times with witchcraft and Wicca and things like that, because I know some practices use it in order to manifest things, to make something happen. Is that kind of how you see it?
Absolutely. You can use it to manifest things. Something that is already yours, that you've been trying to manifest, like love or an upgrade in your career, more money. But these things, it's about raising your vibration at a core level to be a magnet to attract back. And in those moments of ecstatic bliss, of letting down all of the walls, of coming against your own limitations, in that practice and the ritual that we use, sex magic, it allows you to go within, to deal with the imposter syndrome, to deal with the lack, the scarcity, the block, the valuing oneself, and to allow that pleasure, those feelings to come in and mixing it with the desired outcome. So that's how it's a process of going within, and it's not about the name, how you just think it's just sex. The manifestation is about the upgrading, the letting go of what's no longer serving, all the stories, all of the stories put on from the ancestors and our parents and society, letting go of what sex is and stepping into what it can be, opening the doors and allowing that intimate time to be a portal.
Well, first of all, I love how you say pleasure. I really feel that word. I love that. But you said that it's a ritual. Is there, when I think of ritual, I think like candles and all kinds of, stuff you see in movies. Is there that type of ritual, or is it just something that you kind of go in your head? How does that work?
Absolutely. So there's a ritual to sex magic, the practice that I have created myself, and it's little pieces from all of these beautiful souls that have tapped into all of this wisdom. But we all learn these things and then we package it up in a way that works for us and put it out for someone else to learn, take pieces from and bring it into their life as well. So it's basically the opposite of how most couples would dive into intimacy at the moment in the world at large. The opposite of that quick fix, that transactional sexual experience where there's no intention put into it. The opposite being everything's intentional. The masculine and the feminine, bringing what they have to offer to the table with the setting up of the ritual, the candle. For me, it's candles, incense, the lighting, the music, the blankets, how I dress, what makes me feel truly, truly beautiful and allows me to fully step into my goddess. That man coming into his intention, man or woman, masculine or feminine energy, whatever their relationship was, to tap into their core, spending some time apart before where they get clear on what they're bringing to the table. So for the masculine side of preparing for a ritual, doing something that allows them to step into that role of their primal essence and getting really clear on that they're not acting from their root chakra, that they're acting from their heart space. So to slow everything down before entering into the ritual so that they can hold the space for the duration needed. So there's a real importance around a sex magic ritual that there's no time restraints, that it's not transactional, that it's there to let it unfold on its own, a slowing down of time and space. Because for the woman to completely release and relax, all expectation needs to be released around the time pressure or the expectation to finish in a certain way. And then, the usual, the woman will finish, the man finish, a goodbye, good night. It's not like that. It becomes an ongoing process where it doesn't even end at the end of that ritual. It can flow into the days and months and years that follow.
So I'm getting that there's a lot behind this, a lot of intention, a lot of intention, and be intentionally going into this process. So I can assume that it would take a lot more than just like, as I'm climaxing, oh shit, I just thought I'm going to lose all my money. You have to, right? It's not one of those. It's something that you really have to go into intentionally before anything happens, right? Because, correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm assuming that all this is in an effort to build up energies, magics, that will then draw forth into the universe and bring whatever it is that you are coming into to ask during the sex magic. So do both parties have to agree on what they're going to be manifesting? Or can we think about different things?
No, you can think about different things. The beautiful thing about this is it's a co-creation, and you can practice this on your own as well. So you would only go into this with a partner if they were aligned with your energy. They were in that space of growth. They were stepping in to change their current beliefs, heal those conditionings around pornography and what things are meant to look like. So this name sex magic gets people in. But what is it? It's a healing of a lifetime of being coded to sexualize in a certain way, to show up and perform in a certain way. It's a healing at a deep core level to stop trying to look a certain way, sound a certain way, experience a quick dopamine fix. It's a complete unfolding of an individual to connect with the cosmos, the higher self, feel the pleasure that's available, and then play with a meditational state, and bringing that into the field. Bring that into the field around you, embodying it, using your imagination. And there's different types, people can visualize images and some people get a sense of. They're both right. They both work. It's tapping into your higher self and allowing, like through a channel straight up and down, to flow with that intention, allowing the feelings of what one's trying to manifest to come into their reality. And whether that comes about, whether you wake up in 10 days or 10 months and you've met your soulmate, or you have this beautiful soul aligned business that's just flourishing, you can't you're not changing your destiny. You've still got to take your action steps. But when you experience that end result for a moment, when you step into that end feeling, that's the epitome of being at a vibration or a frequency, which then when you go about your day, you're going to have opportunities, doorways open up because you've felt it for a second, what it feels like to already have in your hand to hold that end result.
So how do you have to keep focused on what you're manifesting while you're in the midst of it? Because I'm thinking, if I want a promotion at work and I'm thinking about work, it's going to be really hard for me to enjoy anything else.
Yeah.
How do you?
No.
How do you do that?
So if we go back to the basics and think about most people, when they're stepping into that place of being intimate or doing the deed, there's still this underlying fight or flight response going on in people's nervous systems. You've been at work all day, you've been on social media, the kids have been yelling and screaming, the TV's on. There's no embodiment, being in one's body, feeling an inner state of calm, peace, clarity, joy, love, enlightenment, all of those beautiful high vibrational feelings that we all want to feel, every single person. That's why we're here. We're chasing to feel those beautiful feelings. That when I've forgotten what the question was. Thinking about what you want to manifest. So the part of the setting up the ritual, the taking one's time while they're getting ready with intention, it's all a meditation in itself. It's all a defragging of the mind. And like any practice, every time you show up and you get ready and you're hit with that, I'm not going to do this today. I've got too much to do. I've got to do this with the kids. I've got to do this with work, putting it off. Prioritizing, taking that time is the activity itself. It's getting out of your own way to prioritize yourself, to come back to true self-love.
So that reminds me, Karen, when people talk about manifesting, one of the things that they say is that you have to focus intensely on what you want and then you have to release it, right? You got to let it go, because if you don't release it, the act of release is what calls it to you.
But I thought the focus wasn't necessarily what you want, but how it feels like to already have.
True. Feelings.
What it is
Yes.
that you want.
You have to imagine yourself already having what you are trying to manifest. But then once you do that at an intense level, you need to release it. You need to let it go and just know it's coming, but don't focus on it. Don't obsess over it, because then the universe will keep thinking, oh, she wants to go ahead and keep wanting. So I would assume that in the case of sex magic, it would be something similar. You're leading up to it. You're thinking about what it is that you want during the act, perhaps, although I don't know. But then the act of the final release, the finishing, it's almost symbolic of releasing of the manifestation or the desire.
And I understand that, but what if you can't get to that point if you're thinking about work?
If you can't finish?
Yeah, what if this thought about what if this thought about whatever you're trying to manifest is it's not a sexy thing, and it's not helping what do you do?
And this is so common in women that it's absolutely heartbreaking to think that level of pleasure isn't accessed by people because of traumas, blocks, traumas in the physical body as well, desensitization from experiences that someone started having sex at a young age, and we'll say typical male, female, the male's been watching porn, they're quite rough. The female is desensitized to their actual pleasure. This whole process is about becoming sensitized again, slowing everything down so that the touch this is a commitment, a practice. It's not something that you do once. You show up time and time again as you let go of old ways, old practices. You're at that front line of ancestors here to change how your children, how your grandchildren experience life. And this programming, stepping outside of everything that is available to you on the phone, screens, sexualization, and stepping into the present moment, making a ritual around it, letting go of all of that fear, all of that program, that dopamine hit, and experiencing actual true life pleasure with a partner. And I want to come back to what you said before, Will, how you're explaining the letting go. When you go into the practice and you've got the intention, you're thinking about what you want to manifest in life or what you want to let go of. You might be aware of the blocks that you have, depending on how much work you're doing with your own self-growth, or that specific thing that you want to bring in. And you're thinking about it. You know that this is your intention. You might spend some time journaling, and then you release that as you set up that beautiful ritual space, your full presence with your partner, coming into your body, letting go. You're not thinking about what you're manifesting at this time. You're bringing your presence in.
Okay, that I can see how that would work then.
So then when do you bring the thought of what you're manifesting into the scene?
Yeah. So as you spend time with your lover or with yourself, coming into the body, completely defragging that all of that fight and flight, all of those, cortisol hormones that are flowing through from just being alive in 2023 and living in suburbia. And, we're not living off grid with no technology. Defragging, coming into the present moment, slowing down, remembering tantric touch, bringing all of these ancient practices into the space, even meditating, journaling, talking to your lover, getting in touch with your love language. What does the other person need? What do you need? Finding your voice, dropping into the present moment. And then it's a dance as the energy starts to build, as usually the woman starts to let go and starts to come into the space. It usually takes a bit longer for a woman to come into her body and be present. It takes time for the man to release the expectation, allowing that woman to unfold, to come down. The actual core of the manifestation is from the woman. The man they never hold the same power that the woman does. And it's not through a fault. So the man would use the woman's energetic body to come into his true power. He can take the power from the woman, the energy, down through the chakras, up through his body. And the woman starts to allow the pictures of what she's manifesting to come in. And often in this time, so say someone, they're like, I want a brand new Tesla. I want this year's Tesla brand, the best model. I want this. I've been thinking of it. This is it. I want this car. When they're in that moment of deciding to bring it in, they usually realize that it's not just the car. What else comes with that lifestyle? What other thoughts come through while they're in their flow state? Allowing that God source energy, creator energy to circulate with the desires. There's other things that come with that. Maybe it's they finally have written that dream book that they've been wanting to write, and they're in that Tesla driving to a book signing. More images as you become a open vessel of spaciousness for your cosmic downloads to come down through you. In that moment, there's a bigger picture. And this is where we've been blocked to what our intuition, what source is trying to tell us in every moment, because we're always so distracted. It's coming back to your roots, your own spaciousness. You're setting that ritual with intention. Yeah, we want the Tesla, but what other things come down through us accepting them in, leaving that space with a clarity.
So you mentioned a lot in that, and there's a couple of things I want to touch on, but you mentioned tantric sex, and we need to take a break. So I've got to take a pause here, but when we come back, I want to talk to you about Tantra, and I want to talk to you about whether or not it's possible to have this go off in the wrong direction. But I'll clarify that when we come back right after this break. Okay, we are back with the Skeptic Metaphysicians. We're talking to Jessie, who is a women's empowerment mentor, and she is talking to us about something that's very timely in this time period, right around Valentine's Day when the show is being released, and we're talking about romance and love and sex, right? Sex magic and manifesting things, making things happen by two beautiful souls coming together and drawing their energies together to make things happen. Now, before we left, you were touched a little bit on tantric sex. I wanted to ask this question because so far what I'm hearing is the act of in my head, actually, I'm hearing this. You probably didn't say it, but the release is what actually sets things into motion in the universe. But if I understand tantric sex correctly, the release is actually an internal release, not an external release. So is there a difference? Does it work better or worse, or is that not something that you recommend?
Well, she said tantric touch. I don't know if that's the same
Yeah,
thing.
no, yeah. You just reminded me tantric touch. So then let's take a step further into actual tantra, which is an internal release, not an external. Does that come into play at all? Have you thought about that even?
Yeah, absolutely. If I understand the question correctly, you're asking if it's the external result as opposed to the internal game, what's happening on the inside, as in a cosmic experience, like a spiritual experience. Is that what you're asking?
Well, yes. Tantra is a very spiritual experience. People use it very for spiritual enlightenment and ascension and consciousness expansions and all that kind of stuff. But it's all about, at the moment of orgasm, actually internalizing it rather than sending it out, right? And if I'm
You're
trying,
cracking me up.
I am trying to do it. So if the act of sending those thoughts out and along with everything else that comes out at that moment is what makes things happen, if you internalize all that, will it stunt that manifestation?
No. So
Okay.
for the man, as part of the sex magic practice, they would practice semen retention. So if the man was devoted to this path, they are manifesting in their outside world by playing with their own power and energy, by learning how to not let their external world dictate when and where their energy goes, and allowing that to be their force for their everyday life.
So it's better to internalize the release then than it is to externalize it. Oh,
Yeah.
Okay.
In the way that in my method that I put together, the man would always practice here is while having fun in holding on to that energy. And I have seen time and time again the difference in particular a male's life and what happens in their success, in their business, in their relationship, is them being a father. Every single piece of them, when they take ownership over that piece of their being, their body, how they're showing up. And they draw so much more pleasure from retaining in that way. Whereas a woman, it's completely different. As many times as you can, upping their energy. And it changes everything between a couple when the man holds space and steps into his power in this way.
Karen's breathing a sigh of relief. Going a little bit deeper into the Tantra part of it, having been someone who has not ever practiced Tantra or internalizing anything, is there, and I've heard that it actually, internalizing it can actually enhance or make things even more powerful. So I completely understand what you're saying. It makes sense. The more energy you develop, the more powerful your manifesting will be and all that kind of stuff. But and I guess maybe this is not the right form to ask you, but how do you stop from, like, I mean,
I was just going to ask that. I'm like, I didn't know you guys could do that.
You get to, me.
Just in general, the general you, not you.
Well, I can only speak for me, but when I get to a certain point, right, call it brinksmanship. If you bring me up to that brink, I can come back. But then if just a hair over that brink, and there's no coming back, baby, right? So how do you manage that?
So this is the practice for the man to completely step into the ownership, to walk away before that fence gets, jumping over the fence, to feel all of that heat and fire in the body and choose what to do with it. So over time, when I say over time, for some people this could happen the first time, and some people it could be years and years and they've never experienced a cosmic orgasm, where a man can orgasm multiple times in full body bliss, but they cannot spill. This is happening right now, but how hard for a human being faced with all of these images, these stimulations, these calling all the time, every day, that living, releasing, that makes someone powerful. And if we really tap in and we go back and we look at the evidence, and you will only know this when you tap into this yourself and you see how everything shifts. And yes, it's difficult, but nothing good ever comes easily. That this is a beautiful internal practice for both people. And when you come together, the amplification of that and the power that it gives you as a couple is just so incredibly beautiful.
You had a question. I'm pausing.
I was watching your face earlier.
Well, I just love the term cosmic orgasm. I think we found the title of the show.
But I'm thinking, the look on your face is kind of like, okay, let me wrap my head around this. It's like, oh, it's like, how is that enjoyable? It's like, no.
Well, I think.
Would you be okay with that? Is that,
well,
or how does that instead of being frustrating become enjoyable?
I was not on board at first, but then I've never experienced multiple orgasms, and you don't usually. At least inside myself. I didn't know it was even possible for a man to have, a woman can have many when it's great. And I've heard that when multiple orgasms happen in quick succession, it's incredible. It's a life-changing moment. Something that men you don't assign that to men. But what I'm hearing you say is that practicing this will actually help you to achieve that. So then, now you got my attention, because once is nice, but many times it's nicer.
Right. The man, it's not only not missing out, it's experiencing a level of bliss that you can't access through that quick release. That pleasure, that dopamine hit, that energy that goes, like, I've never heard anyone describe it better than Joe Rogan on this podcast. And, something else is driving the bus. It's driving the bus, and he goes through all of these things. And then the minute it's over, you realize you weren't driving the bus, that man was sitting at the back of the bus, and now you can get back up in the driver's seat and decide where you want to go. It's absolutely overcoming your own mind, becoming the master of your own mind, to experiencing these great levels of heightened sensitivity to a point that all of these other nerve pathways start to awaken up to experiencing a full body orgasm over and over and over again, and not tiring, to leave that experience and be energized more than ever, to step into the next phase of the day, or the next day, the next week. And this energy just accumulates. The joy in a man, the realization of his power, his next step in his business or his family life, his relationship, is clear-minded. How it works in with all of the hormones that man's producing, just letting his seed go everywhere it's not productive for his makeup. To keep that energy, that seed, to use discernment about when and where to let that energy go, because it's still fun, right? It's the game of life. Maybe you choose to do that this time. Maybe you practice this other way for a while, and you can move back and forth. And I encourage you to see what it feels like. If there's discomfort there, anyone listening to this show would know, what is that discomfort trying to teach you? When you lean into that discomfort of what you just said, the frustration, if you were to leave a sexual experience thinking that you got ripped off, like this person just used my body and I'm leaving this frustrated, then no fulfillment, to lean into that discomfort, and someone's telling you maybe there's this greater power that you hold. And if you tap into it with your patience, your inner stillness, your own healing, and stepping into true power as a man, you still get to experience that if you want to, but you get to play with it and awaken all of this incredible magic.
So do you have to do this with someone that you're in a relationship with, or, that you care about, or there's feelings for, or could you just meet someone and you kind of have it in your head and you're, going about it that way?
Hey, Joe, what are you doing tonight?
Yeah. I think some people have a relationship with people in a different way, where they're energetically bonded in a way and they're not in a couple sense. For me personally, with my husband that I'm devoted to, that I'm committed to, it enhances my practice when I know that I have this man's total devotion, and he knows that he has mine, and there's space for everybody to experience this. But for my life and my experience, that devotion from another person in a monogamous relationship, and using it as part of an up-leveling mindset, mind, body, spirit, like a meditation, to play with life. When so many people's relationships are going down in the sexual side, getting further and further away from truth, why not play with it and learn how this can work for you, and how it can be fun and exciting and incredibly spiritual and imagine manifesting incredible things, and it starts with that. Like, who doesn't want that in their relationship?
So here comes Will, right? Get ready. Everywhere I was just talking to my daughter about this the other day, not about this.
What?
No, but what I'm about to talk about. Right? So everyone knows where there are two or more of you or congregate, that's where I will be, or something, right? So people go to church on Sundays because they feel that praying together will make their prayers stronger, will help bring peace or whatever it is that everyone's praying together for. It'll be stronger, right? The intentions will be stronger. People come together in meditation groups as groups to meditate for one particular thing, to unite their energies together and make that manifestation stronger. So my question is, does that mean that
you had to go there, didn't you, Will?
Yeah, I did warn you. Here comes Will, right? Is group sex the epitome of sex magic, or is that something that you need to be careful? Here's where we touch on the possible negative side of this thing, right? Is there a negative side? And I think I know the answer is, but I have to ask it because there's people out there wondering the same thing.
I think that's such a great question. Group sex and all of those beautiful things. That everyone gets to choose how they live and what's right for them. In this particular way that I like to practice this, that the energy would be too scattered. It's not so much a devotional practice. Although I can see that in some circumstances, if everybody was energetically aligned, working on themselves in such a way that they're doing these energetic practices, that it could work for some people, but I haven't personally seen it where it's so incredibly powerful, where it's not just about the pleasure. This is a deeply devotional practice where you unfold, where you feel deeply in trust. There's no mask. It's all the mask getting shed away, where you're coming into your power. So to be there with all of these different people, where there'd be all of these different dynamics, and people might be there for different reasons, that it could work, but I haven't seen it being used like that personally.
That makes sense.
Well, I have another question that I think that if I was listening to this podcast and I want to ask this, how do you know it works? I mean, it sounds great, like a great practice to do, but how do you know it works?
Oh, it doesn't matter. It's fun.
But they would, if I didn't believe it in this sort of thing, I just kind of heard this for the first time, I'd be like, do you have any example?
I never believed in anything spiritual. I had family that would go to church. I had people that were spiritual around me, and I just thought that they were crazy. I thought what's here is here right now on this earth. Everything after that's blackness. These people are crazy. What is this word faith? What is tapping it? That was how I was until a few years ago, until I started getting proved beyond any doubt in my own life, the truth. This is when I speak on this, when I am talking about these things, I've experienced them firsthand and I never found anything. These things find me. These practices find me. I feel the transformational power. I see it. I go in completely skeptical. I absolutely do not believe. I do not believe it. You tell me something, I will not believe anything even right now until I experience it myself. I typically have a mind that's been programmed and conditioned to only believe science that's proven here. And then through my life path, I've been showed time and time again that there's something else, that there's more. And it's this awakening to the fact that, whoa, no. Science, science is down here with what it can prove. And there's all of this world up here. And how do I know? How can I be on a podcast? How can I stand behind this? It's through my own skeptical one. You can't know until you try these things and you know that they work for you. If I say it, if you say it, if some guru says it, it doesn't matter. You've got to experience it. You get shown the way, and then you become a believer, because all doubt is washed out on its own. Truth speaks. There's no distortion to truth. Truth will speak itself through you when you feel what you feel it.
And people can practice as solitary, right? You can do sex magic within yourself. I would assume it would be the same general thing, some sort of ritual, maybe a bath, some bath salts, a couple candles, treating yourself really well, and then enjoying yourself.
There's a lot of people that are at different places in their journey, and for a lot of times it's the women that initiates this kind of exploration, because the women have woken up at a bit of a faster speed. They say there's like 80% of women here, 20% of men. That 20% of men that are waking up to these things are going to bring the rest of the men awake to all of these other forces and the rising of consciousness. The women having a deeper desire to awaken, to feel that enlightenment, that love, that joy, that peace. So they start to look into these practices. How do I manifest a better life? And oftentimes there's I'm trying to think of the word, but it can be temporary or permanent mismatch in where the growth is. So the woman will start to get a desire for more, and the man might be stuck in the 3D, stuck doing these same old habits, unwilling to change. We usually don't change until we experience a great level of suffering. Sometimes it's that she walks out the door. The heartbreak leads them to some plant medicine retreat, some big deep hole where they're having conversation based around spirituality, where they go, wow, this actually feels good. It feels healing. I'll look into this. But that's self-practice. That is oftentimes where it starts. The woman goes, every time I try with my man, like they're not getting on board. It's got to be based around self and only coming together in that with the partner that can see what you're actually doing, why you're there, coming into that communication and that co-creation with that same intention of upgrading their own spiritual life, basically.
You know what this is reminding me of, Karen?
What?
Shibari.
Yeah.
Right? Remember when she talked to us about Shibari? This is exactly what she was saying. She was talking about how they took their very sweet time asking permission at each step of the way. It became this really sensual agreement between the two of them that ended up lasting for a long time.
Yeah.
So now it's all kind of falling into place. Makes perfect sense.
If you think about it, there's one goal. Everyone wants to be happy, joyous, and free. And then we can put that in like this little enlightenment, like this enlightenment banner, but this just happiness, this joyfulness, this inner peace and contentment. And there's a million different pathways to get there. There's all the different gods, all the different avenues. And it's just accessing the one that hits the right spot, trying all of these things. And as you raise your vibration, you're getting closer to truth. You feel like, as you step out of mainstream matrix life and into really truth of that where you're a human being here as part of an ecosystem, you're a human, you're a spiritual being having a human experience, all of that. What path do I take to find truth and expansion and let go of old karma to be the leader of my own life and my own destiny? That there's no right or wrong path. There's just different paths.
Yeah. You are very much speaking our language.
Yeah.
It's exactly what we've talked about again and again and again on this show. There's going to be a lot of people asking a lot of questions, and I'm not going to be able to answer them. So I assume, since you are an empowerment mentor, this is something that you might be able to help couples or singles to achieve.
So I work myself with women one-on-one. My beautiful husband works with men one-on-one. We work with couples together. We are both available on all platforms. It's simple.
That's
Jessie
great.
Mclean Coach on TikTok and Instagram. And my favorite, if you just slip into the DM.
We're going to put in all of your links in our show notes. So if you're interested in reaching out to Jessie and diving into this really sexy modality, all you need to do is go to skepticmetaphysician.com, go to her episode page. You'll see all of those links directly in the show notes. I encourage you to give it a try, right? This is what this show is all about, is about exploring every different modality, every different path, and seeing which one fits the best for you. So, Jessie, thank you so much for coming to us all the way from Australia. We really appreciate you taking the time and sharing your expertise and your thoughts and your energy with us and our audience, because this conversation has been super eye-opening.
So interesting. And I have a feeling I'm going to be getting some candles for Valentine's Day.
It's incense. But now, thank you so much, Jessie. Really appreciate it. It's a wonderful meeting you as well.
Thank you so, so much.
Well, thanks for coming along on this journey of discovery with us. We'd love to continue our conversation with you on our website at skepticmetaphysician.com or on Facebook and Instagram under Skeptic Metaphysician Podcast. If you know someone who would benefit from hearing the messages we're sharing on the show, do them and us a favor and share the show with them. It will help get the word out about us, and it may just change someone's life for the better. And if you're listening to this on the radio and you missed something, well, not to worry. All of our shows, including this one, can be found at skepticmetaphysician.com, where you can also watch the videos or even send us an email or voicemail directly from the site. We absolutely love feedback and would appreciate hearing from you. Well, I hope you've enjoyed this episode as much as we have. That's all for now. We'll see you on the next episode of The Skeptic Metaphysicians. Until then, take care.